got a pension 10, 15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
We're live. RTD Live Talk, Wednesday night, the 28th day of the month of August. And as you guys can tell from tonight's subject matter, it's not by coincidence that all of a sudden this subject matter of China developing their own cryptocurrency becomes mainstream news, even though it's been in the works for quite some time now. But I would definitely imagine that it has something to do with all this trade situation, the yuan basically dropping, being devalued, and so all the other things going on. But yeah, it just seemed very timely that this is happening now. And from the subject here about the ideal time frame to actually have this thing up in people's hands is by November 11th of this year. So that's a couple of weeks away, and that's what they're aiming for, it looks like. So we'll definitely touch on some of these things here. But there's a lot of things within this article I'm going to share with you that I want to highlight, so we'll definitely get to it. But before I dive any further, as always, welcome to RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late-night YouTube talk show. My name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk from Detroit. 313-462-0027. Give me a call and let's share what's on your mind, if it's related to this or something else. Or if we have any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from in the chat right here. I'll definitely acknowledge your presence. It's always a blessing to have people join me on these live streams, so I appreciate that. So as always, let me check in real quick. We got Spirit. Says howdy. We got Scott. We got low blood pressure. We got Excalibur. Says gold and silver only. We got Zach. Says love the intro. Appreciate it, Zach. I'm definitely going to shorten up the intro because I initially had that when I had to do a lot of things behind the scenes to get prepared. I needed time. But now I just click, so it's easier. So I'll definitely shorten that up. We got D from Charlotte. How you doing? We got Blow Brush says, what up, Mike? Drinking beer and eating beef jerky. Walmart brand. Interesting. We got Thomas from Green Bay, Wisconsin. We got Worldwide Emergency. Mike was good. Pablo's in the building. What's up, Silver? Yeah, so with that being the case, and so we all knew that it was a matter of time before a central bank made it official. And so for the most part, it's always been a lot of rumors and just basically think tanks that's been allowed to leak out information early, kind of to test the media and test public reaction, I'm sure. And so we've known Russia's been working on something. We know Iran is working on something. We know Venezuela attempted to do something. And so every central bank is working on something because that's just their plan for us as the paper game comes to an end, and they want to solely make it digital. So I got an article to share with you, but not surprised whatsoever. But I think it's very timely that they're aiming to have this thing launched before the end of the year or in the people's hands. So that's 1.3 billion Chinese people that they want to make this. It's basically a renminbi coin. That's what it's basically going to be looked as, because the digital renminbi, which is predominantly the bulk of their monetary base, will stay the same digitally. So they want to basically get rid of paper. So that's the main objective, is to get rid of paper and to keep people in the system, because it's a centralized currency that you got to use through them. And so it's very telling how they're going to be the first ones possibly to roll it out officially, and then every other central bank will follow, amongst all the issues we're having with this trade war, which is ultimately a currency war, because it's a race to the bottom as far as central banks dropping rates and easing and stimulating and basically robbing people. But we got Lost of Words. Says Flint Town in the building. Keep up the great work. Appreciate that. We got Dakota. Says Panna, Illinois. Finally caught you live, Illinois. Appreciate you, my friend Dakota. Thanks for tuning in. We got Lionel from Louisiana. watching and listening. Omni, how you doing, my friend? So Omni, cryptocurrency is the subject matter this evening, but it's not in a decentralized manner. It's definitely a government centralized controlled entity that's going to be designed to keep you tied into the system. So the transition will be smoother than when India pulled their note changes. Omni Bone, that's 100% true, because it's one thing for your central bank and your government to conspire against the public and basically say by the end of this month. So if they basically, that's like the Treasury saying, Treasury and the Federal Reserve coming and saying by September 1st, all $100 bills must be turned into your local bank and you'll be given a credit or given some new note type of thing. And that's kind of how it happened in India. They had basically a certain amount of time, I think it was a month, to turn everything in. Same thing happened in Venezuela. And so, yeah, interesting. It says, Mike, how is an importer going to do commerce in China with crypto? So low blood pressure. Good question there. And so this is basically my opinion based upon having heard Jim Willie, throughout the years reference that be on the lookout for a digital backed cryptocurrency, i.e. some type of gold situation that will be used internationally. But this Chinese renminbi coin is what I'm going to call it in short, is solely meant for commerce amongst the population, for retail sake, and it's basically meant to because there's in the article, which I'll get to right now, but there's no mention of supply, which means that the central bank will be allowed to play with the supply like they do with everything else. But what they're going to do is that the goal is basically to replace the paper by just solidifying digits all the way across. So they're going to have the digital renminbi. So as this article says here, your bank account, when you look on your phone, won't change. It's just when you go to the bank and try to withdraw paper, eventually that's going to be gone. But you'll have access to this particular coin along with your renminbi digits in your bank account. So it's a two-tier system, as it's called in this article here. So I highlighted a couple of things that I want to get at, because this same thing here is mentioned in the mainstream news literally 5 days, 6 days since last Friday when Mark Carney delivered his little presentation at Jackson Hole, basically describing this same exact thing that we're seeing here. So I would assume it by Mark Carney slipping up, either he slipped up and let the cat out the bag because, all central banks was supposed to roll it out at the same time to make it more uniform. But yet Mark Carney probably slipped early and mentioning the plans that they have in store for us already by saying the Libra aspect is not bad. It can be controlled by a central bank and issued through social media and controlled and all that stuff like that. So that's exactly what's going on here. And so the article is from Forbes. I definitely encourage you guys to read through it. And it says Alibaba, Tencent, 5 others to receive first Chinese government cryptocurrency. And so this is a day old, but yet very timely, because once again, you connect all the dots. Mark Carney running his mouth too soon, probably got China panicked. So now they're going to drop it first, and then we're going to have other banks to drop it. But it's a lot of good things here. But what I want to hint at, which is why, this has been done. This has been ready now since last year. And so they tout it as being better than what Libra is, because Libra can only handle 1,000 transactions per second. And according to them, what this is just not solely a blockchain based thing that they're trying to put together here. It's labeled a digital currency electronics payment system. And so because they label it like that, make it all technical. But what they're trying to get at is they can process a lot more. And the reason they need to process a lot more is because it says here the cryptocurrency has been ready since last year. And let me zoom in so you guys can see what I'm saying. It says the cryptocurrency has been ready since last year, and that cryptocurrency could launch as soon as November 11th, China's busiest shopping day, known as Singles Day. So it could be, which means I'm assuming they would like to have it out there, but it's one of them things where in a couple weeks it's going to be interesting to see how they can put it into people's hands and give people the confidence to want to go use it. But they're going to use the Alibaba and WeChat and all those basically centrally controlled social media / payment processing to get it out there along with the banks. And what's interesting is that Singles Day is the busiest day in China, November 11th. And so they said, this is something here I want to point at. Last year, 2018, it says the DCEP was designed to handle 300,000 transactions per second. So Libra was supposed to be 1,000 transactions per second. This says 300,000 transactions per second. It says Singles Day last year, peak volume of all transactions in China was 92,000 transactions on a single day around the country. And so basically they're saying Libra wouldn't be able to compete with this type of thing. But then at the very bottom, it gets into more of the nitty gritty stuff of how this is what we all can expect in some form or fashion, because you can believe you won't see the Federal Reserve sitting by and the Treasury. So definitely Steve Mnuchin any minute now will probably come out. I actually saw an article today referencing that. I think it quoted Steve Mnuchin as saying that, you know, as of now, at this current moment or something like that, they're not going to tinker with the strength of the dollar. And so I saw somebody reply like, you know, I mean, like right now or as in tomorrow, you're going to then get into the markets to intervene and try to weaken the dollar. And so this is an interesting story, because not only do we have all the things happening in the cryptocurrency world in general, but now we have a country with the most people on the planet in it. I think that in India, but for the most part, China, so-called our enemy, our Eastern. I'm not even sure what to even give it a call, because they're not personally my enemy, but they're, the deep state and all those people like to make we need an enemy, so they're our enemy for now. But as of now, this currency here is more of a nail in the coffin towards the de-dollarization process, because once again, by them cutting off their own paper currency, that's good to say that they're going to make it so that their own citizens won't have access to dollars. So they're basically, in another sense, removing dollars out of their economy as well with the issuance of a new centrally backed currency. So there's more to the story, but I will keep ranting if I don't check in with you guys. So let me look at some questions and see what's going on out here. What's going on? What's some thoughts in your mind? Let me know. Says Mike, how important is going to commerce crypto? Okay, I'll answer that one. Says if the bank asks me to turn in my $100 bills for some silver, I'll do it in a heartbeat. Yeah, but that's good to say, Lionel. Your bank won't have any silver, so yeah, we would hope that they would do that, but that's not the case anymore. Says China already has large numbers of their public that has been blackballed, and I am curious if those that cannot fly, if they are too expected to participate in China's new cryptocurrency. I mean, another great point there. So once again, for those individuals in China or in our Asian region in general, a part of their political and their governmental structure is that whole social credit score. So they have a score linked to their behavior and just their just their mere existence in the country. And so it has a lot to do with your activity come banking time. So if your score is high, you can borrow, lend, and stuff like that. But if your score is not good, you can't have transactions, or you can't do your typical financial business. So I would imagine, Omni, that this is going to be one of the things where you think about this. If paper is removed from the citizens' hands and all they have is digits, they got a two-tier system, this digital renminbi coin, and then they got the crypto coin, whatever that's, it's not even crypto, but whatever it's being touted as. You got those two money supplies only, and no more paper, and you got a credit score or a social economic score, whatever they call it, that really oversees all your financial dealings. Think about your whole life has been reduced to just a score or some digits in a computer somewhere, and this particular government has a say-so to say whether or not you're in compliance, or if you're not in compliance with whatever they want you to do, you won't be able to do business transactions, and you especially won't have access to the cryptocurrency, I'd imagine, because I'd imagine whatever the wallet is or however it's going to be stored via the WeChat app and whatever social apps, like they have they have a Facebook there, I can't think of the name of it, but it's just as big as Facebook there. I'm assuming you'll be able to have access a wallet in that app there. So all the social media will have access probably to this particular China coin. And if you're not in good standings, your account will be cut off, buddy. That's just how it goes. It says U.S. is getting left behind, Anthony. Yeah, that's a good thing and a bad thing. And so a good thing in regards to you and I being able to see exactly what's already been implemented in a communist nation where everything is digital, including their own personal behavior. They have a behavior score and a compliance score and all that stuff into a score. We have yet to, we're marked and tagged with a social security number as of now. We're private property of the government, and even if you look in your passport, the passport says this is property of the United States government. So we're already marked and tagged in a sense, but yet we still have the illusion of freedom a little bit right now. And so hopefully people can see and realize what's already happening there. And if things get really, really bad here where they try to throw some stuff at us, because here's another thing. A lot of people probably don't factor in the consequences of this presidential cycle that's underway, where you have a political ideology that is geared upon offering people free stuff. Now, anything that's usually given for free, it has to come from somewhere. So somebody has to work for it. But yet ultimately, by giving you a handout, is what it basically boils down to, they're going to require and ask for a little bit more of your freedom and your privacy and everything included with that. So this is just a thought off the side of my head. I'll stop rambling. Nobody's called in, so I got time. But if we get a president that is very free and pro everything, this type of stuff with a life social score and solely digital, it plays into what they want to do because it gives them more control and it limits our ability to choose what we would like to do and what we would not like to do. It's hard to make a choice when everything you own and everything you have is digitally tied into your phone or somebody else's server that's controlled by someone that basically gives you the yay or nay to what you can do. So if those free people, the people who want free everything, get their way, expect stuff like this to come up. It's just the only way things can go. It says, do you think in regards to China, those that are tainted in the social system and cannot fly, are they too included in this financial system? Yeah, so I think I answered that. Let me get caught up in the chat. As always, if you have a direct question, feel free to highlight at Rethinking a Dollar, so it could stand out. Or, I wouldn't mind, super chat. I always recognize super chats. So as well as if typo, if you're watching for last night, I appreciate the super chat. I logged up before I got a chance to thank you for it. It says they more hardworking than many Americans. Very true. Very, very hardworking. All hail open source mathematics and cryptography. All hail King Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Get your kernel before it goes pop. Can't make choices if someone else is feeding you. Very true, Sanjay. That is a very good point. Chinese Communist Party is enemy of the United States of America. No population, no money. They practice a lot of communism. Do you think they practice a lot of communism? Do you think? And yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna dive back into this article. And as well, if there's any other subject matter that you guys have come across, feel free to let me know, and we can definitely touch on it. And so Peter says, silver, 1845. You did real good telling people to load up on the physical last year. Good, man. Yeah, definitely. And so it's one of the things where, I can never get tired of preaching the same thing, but I'm going to preach it till I can't preach it no more. Everything we're talking about, whether it be cryptocurrencies, paper money, or whatever, they're all man's creation, designed and issued through a centrally controlled source for multiple reasons. One of them is taxation. The other one is for wealth confiscation, in my opinion. So as long as your denominator counting your livelihood or your financial well-being in those instruments, you can only lose out. And so once you adapt the mindset that metals, precious metals, rare elements from the earth that can't be tainted as of now, pure in nature, intrinsically valuable, all the properties needed to be a store of value is really physical money, then you'll be good because you know what's real, you know what's not. Spirit King says, Medicare for all isn't free. It's paid by taxes, but it's still cheaper than you pay today. It would save $5 trillion over 10 years, according to just my personal opinion about giving something of extreme value to people without having them earn it or work for it tends to dilute the value in it in and of itself. And so, when it comes to Medicare anyway, it's usually after the fact. When someone physically has already done harm to themselves or, God forbid, got into an accident is when Medicare is needed. And so simply, it should be more so you pay for what you utilize, but if you give unlimited competition into that particular industry, you'll have healthcare providers, insurance companies, even doctors competing for business. And if the medical industry, the healthcare, the pharmaceutical industry, if they're all competing against each other for our business, we would get a good deal without breaking the bank. But yet, when it's privately held, politically regulated, with all types of incentives for special interests to get involved, you're going to unfortunately get corruption and overpricing of goods and services just because everybody wants a profit. So, Spirit, I feel you. I hear you. I'm nowhere near a medical caregiver expert, but I do know because, I have somewhat of a tie to the medical industry, especially here. We have a couple big hospitals here. I know people in them and physicians at that. And once Obamacare was rolled out, a lot of physicians, expressed their displeasure in the fact that, once again, you're putting restrictions on them as doctors because it makes their job a lot more difficult because they have to now abide by so many rules and paperwork and primarily every doctor is, a medical physician for one of two reasons or both. A, they want to help people, and B, they want to make money. And so if you take away any one of those, what are you doing? What are you in medicine for? So I think a lot of people will just switch up and go to something, hell, just go work for the government. You'll get you'll get Medicaid, Medicare, everything else you need. So yeah, that's just my little 2 cents, but I spent too much time on that situation. Spirit, I appreciate you, boss. It says, rethinking it out, says, Mike, maybe far-fetched, but it looks like Trump is destroying the dollar-controlled demolition. Low blood pressure. I would agree. I do think that the ultimate end, of course, is, all eyes on the Federal Reserve note. Because as Trump calls out, the Federal, Jerome Powell and the FOMC board, by him going back and forth, all he's doing is shining light on the Federal Reserve and their product, which is, it's the United States of America's liability, and it's the central bank's asset. So all he's doing is shining light on the problems that people are going to start experiencing with inflation. So people eventually, by him doing all this back and forth, people are basically getting used to the fact that, hey, if our president can bash the Fed, so can I, so can we. Because if Trump, who's a businessman, says the Fed don't know what they're doing, whether he's doing it intentionally or not, it gives the public a right to say, hey, the hell with these central bankers. Like, we don't need them. The country was okay prior to them coming into existence. It wasn't because of the special interest and the elite that caused all those panics with the extension and contraction of credit that we had banking situation. So I think, President Trump is basically trying to bring this thing down as smoothly as he can because we're going to have a default. There's no way around it because the debt is exponentially increasing. And so the question is, how much longer can people pretend that, there's no consequences to too much debt? And how do you define too much? Because we've been going for quite some time now with trillions, but yet the longer this thing goes, the less purchasers, legitimate purchasers like China, Russia, all the countries that have used it for reserves are purchasing less and less. Therefore, the central bank has to begin purchasing it. And then there goes the credibility. There goes the full faith and confidence in the Federal Reserve note. And goodbye, Federal Reserve as we know it today. Because the people will definitely rebel once inflation kicks in. What else we got here? So just saying does not make it reality to tax Wall Street and try it first and then shut it down if it fails. Yeah, and like always, taxation in of itself, if you try to pinpoint one single tier of society or class of society or entity or industry to tax them out, for every political figure that throws out the word, let's tax them more, the people who are being taxed, they have methods for going around the taxes. So it's not like you're going to get the full-fledged stash of all that capital that they are sitting on and not paying taxes on. They're going to just jump ship, move ship, shut down, close doors. I mean, whatever. I mean, people are not in the business to be taxed at the expense of other people getting free stuff. So, I don't think that's going to work. But of course, the only thing we can do is try it, because this is all one big experiment, if you haven't noticed. I'd imagine people are starting to really get the nuts and bolts of this, is that this is one big experiment that's starting to, I was talking to, who was I talking to? I was talking to David Morgan earlier. And so I'll be sharing that interview, but he was saying, like, we're on a big Titanic and Trump is at the wheel, but the Titanic is still going down no matter which way he steers it. We all know how the story ends, to sink ships, or the ship sinks. And so when he said that, it was like, wow. But anyway, so it said, we got a question from Liz, super chat, appreciate that. It says, Mike, you use gold cards. Is that more relative to the notes rather than physical gold? Analysts expect silver and gold to continue to rise. Thoughts? Okay, so it says, Mike, you use gold cards. Is the market relative? Is it more relative to notes rather than cards? Well, what are we referring to by cards? You were talking about debit credit cards that have gold linked to it, or you're talking about the cash gold notes, or you talking about 1 gram cash gold cards, or be more specific for me. I'm curious. Because, silver and gold, it's not, and that's another thing. Another way of looking at it is not that silver and gold is really rising. It's that the paper that they're priced in is going down. It's depreciating. So it basically takes more paper to get that one item. But 1 ounce of silver is constant. It doesn't change. Absolutely nothing changes about I got a Morgan, like an 1890 something Morgan, silver Morgan has not changed at all. The only thing that's changed is the amount of paper it takes to acquire one. So 100 plus years ago, a Morgan dollar was just one piece of paper. Now a Morgan dollar with a premium on top, because silver has been labeled a commodity and not money, it takes maybe 17, 18, 19 pieces of paper. Yeah, but that's probably, I probably say that too much, but Anthony, I appreciate the comment, my friend. Honk, honk. It says, Omniball says, Trump still has Hillary loose. True. It says, too, Mexico ain't paying for the Puchin Mall. It says, the swamp is more swampy. Open your eyes, man. No jobs have really come back if you know the truth. No confidence. Omni, great assessment there. I would agree. And a lot of that, all 4 of those things are relative things that the current administration ran upon. They got a lot of people excited and got a lot of people believing that he's going to be the savior of whatever. And me personally, as go back in the archives of his inauguration and all that stuff like that, I mentioned that, just something just doesn't smell right. And I just labeled, this, current president as a Trojan horse, talking good on the outside, but we'll see what's inside. And it's usually not until someone leaves office that you get to look back and see what came out of them from their actions. And so, the great biblical reference is that, you can tell a tree by its fruit. And so we're going to tell by the fruit after the fact, unfortunately. Liz, 1 gram. Yes. So Liz, so 1 gram. Yes. I am because gold itself, because of, the amount of the piece of paper, the amount of paper it takes to get your weight up in gold is more expensive than silver. 1 gram bars, they're gold. The chemical composition is still on the periodic table, is still solid gold, smaller weight, but it still has value. So I am a proponent of it. I purchased them directly myself. And as a part of the RTD Gold Team, if you have someone that's more entrepreneurial in nature, you have a chance to earn gold by helping others get gold. So, yeah. And another thing, I'll probably touch on later. I don't know. I'll touch on later. But I want to talk about, I wanted to share my thoughts on future employment. And I was talking to my wife about this and just sharing my thoughts about how a lot of people in this country primarily, you have, I like the Robert Kiyosaki cash flow quadrant, the ESBI, employee, self-employed, business, investor. You got those 4 type of people who get up every morning. And a lot of people, just because our school system primarily has basically ingrained in us, the idea of working, being an employee. So that's great. I mean, that's great. But then you got other options. And so a lot of people don't realize that with the amount of jobs that will be lost in the next 2 to 3 years, there's going to be more jobs lost because as the individual I interviewed, Mr. Lance Roberts, referenced that when there's a credit issue, that there goes employment. So he was saying that all service sector jobs, for the most part, their employers rely upon credit. Their access to be able to make payroll according to borrowing. Most people ain't not sitting on, millions in the vaults. They're probably more so, loan to loan, as far as, we got, small retailers. And so once credit markets freeze, there's going to be a massive amount of unemployment. And so when it comes to unemployment, people are going to be looking for opportunity. So I believe everyone at that point will be thrust into the the self-employed category. And that's basically saying you're passionate about. So long story short, I'm gonna get off of this because I'm doing too much ranting. But future employment will not be you working directly for a company, but yet I believe everyone, because they're gonna give you UBI. So employers are going to say, hey, since you're already getting $1,000 a month or whatever it is from the government, you can earn more by becoming an affiliate, and so you can become a direct affiliate of our company. So think about all your favorite companies, wherever you shop at. Eventually, they're going to get rid of actual people working for their stores because they're going to have robots. They're going to have machine learning opportunities where they're going to be programs that can do everything, even the lifting. So what will you be needed for inside a retail store other than going and trying stuff on? And you probably only need to do that. So what they're going to do, they're going to hire people to go out and be salesmen. So everybody will become a salesman of something one day. Believe it or not, you're going to sell yourself, you're going to sell your talent, you're going to sell something. So get ready for future employment where you are directly responsible for your life. No more relying upon someone to give you a paycheck and benefits. So we've been spoiled in thinking that a job must come with retirement package, travel package, time off. That's great as long as you got an economy that flows. But once the economy goes boop boop, goes bye bye, all those privileges go with it. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for that. Yeah, UBI, Universal Bio Identification. Peter. Yeah, so Peter's in Australia. What's the vibe like in regards to the whole social credit score? Because you guys are, relatively close to China, do a lot of business with China. I wouldn't doubt if the government tried to, ease their way in with some social credit score. And I know you guys can't do cash transactions over 10,000 Australian dollars. And so as of now, we don't have any cash restrictions directly, but they just make it so that a lot of people nowadays don't accept cash. And so that's just unfortunate, but it's all by design. But I want to get back to the primary subject for this evening. No one's called in, so I don't feel bad at all. But I want to highlight on a couple things because the subject for tonight was about this cryptocurrency being launched. So I'm going to share with you my little bit of an outline of how I think this thing is going to play out. So here we have China, officially the first country that's a major player in our monetary system that's already, battling for, I wouldn't say they're battling for center stage, but they're battling for more of a voice in the system to lead the next wave of society. And so this digital currency that's being unleashed, I would say that it's going to be utilized during the One Belt, One Road initiative. And so within the next 2-3 years, that's going to really begin taking off, barring we go to war or something like that. So this digital currency will be utilized because if you're going to have access to the One Belt, One Road, and that's eventually going to go from Asia all the way to Portugal. So Spirit King, they come to your neck of the woods. And so along that road there, you're going to be utilizing this China coin or the renminbi digital currency itself. You won't be using, more than likely, initially you're going to have the euro, if that doesn't break out between now and then, but you're going to have the euro, and you're probably going to be incentivized to utilize the Chinese payment platform because most of the things around that area and around the world comes from China. So that's going to pick up steam. Now it's a matter of how would other central banks respond. So the second country I see coming with the official announcement and a rollout yet will be who? Any guess? Anybody out there got a guess? Anybody got a guess? The second nation that might roll out something officially with a rollout date, possibly. In the chat, real quick. Anybody got any thoughts? I'll give you a couple seconds, see if anybody got some thoughts. Well, it's taking too long. But anyway, so the next country I believe is going to be Russia. So expect Russia, which they already have it in the works, and they were experimenting and talking about it. And it's good to say they had it finished last year too. But yet Russia's going to roll out the coin next. And then we're going to see how China and Russia might interlink their networks or something like that. And then everything that is done, because this trade war is not going to end. It's going to basically, this trade situation will bring about the end of the current monetary system we are under. So I think this trade war will go on. What they're going to do, they're going to build layers on top of it to kind of take attention away from the trade issues in the old currency. So with this issuance of a coin, China can easily get back to business as normal, because as long as you got people using a coin, you can build on top of your current payment structure, which is the chips, the version of the SWIFT that they have. You can still use the chips amongst governments or whatever, but yet your citizenry, the people who's going to pay taxes in that particular currency, can use a coin and a renminbi on top of it. Same thing with Russia. Russia has their payment processing system, the nation, the governments can still use, but yet they're going to roll out a coin and work on top of that all along while they pull back the paper. And so the trade war stuff is still going to go on. There's going to be fluctuations, devaluations, but the goal is to keep confidence in the system itself without going to war, I believe. And so now we got the U.S. going to be on the outside looking in, feeling left out. And as always, whenever we feel left out, what do? We cause problems. So the U.S. is going to cause some problems, trying to stir on and to entice somebody to throw the first punch. I don't think Russia and China are willing to throw a punch because they're busy working on, life after the dollar. So I don't foresee the plan actually working. So I think if China, because President Xi has a life-term sentence as a chairman there, as a president there, so President Xi going to be in office 10, 15 years from now. So he's patient. He has time. It's Trump and whoever else is coming in. They only got 4 years. So no matter what, it's going to be a sense of urgency to speed this thing up. So we're going to have more interventions, more conflicts coming from this side of the world. And all along, we're going to continue to take out more debt. More confidence will be lost in the dollar. And then more nations will come out with things saying we're not longer going to accept payments in the dollar. Therefore, and all amongst that, inflation will be picking up as normal, because as of next year, when the Federal Reserve is the only purchaser of treasuries and any debt instrument, you could believe the market's going to react. People are going to start, if velocity is going to pick up, people are going to start spending because they know their money's being counterfeited. Just my opinion. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Anybody there? Going once, going twice? All right, had a caller there. But I'll give you a second to give a call back in and get your thoughts. But other than that, going to dial back. Just wanted to share my thoughts on what's happening. And this subject matter here is just one more nail in the death of the dollar, Federal Reserve System, rather. There's a dollar difference between a dollar and a Federal Reserve note. A dollar is a silver coin, gold coin. Federal Reserve note, piece of paper, you know where it comes from. So with that being the case, this is some good stuff I encourage you guys to take a look at. I'm going to make sure I put it in the chat so everyone can look at it for themselves. And if anything comes to mind, you have any other thoughts, feel free to leave them down below in the description, and we can definitely touch on it at a different time. But with that being the case, looks like I'm going to dial back. So as always, if you've enjoyed the back and forth, don't be afraid to donate a thumbs up to the channel. Button beneath here, just hit thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever floats your boat. And then as always, there's a lot of resources down below. And if you have not had a chance to watch the interview I did earlier with Lance Roberts, watch it. And more importantly, share the video, share this information. because whether or not it comes from me or whoever your other favorite YouTuber is, people, they need to hear this information before they feel it. And so let's get it out there. And as always, be blessed, be safe. See you later. Peace.